Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. In this small break before the World Championship concludes this upcoming weekend, there are so many Rostermania rumours going around right now, chiefly among which is Sentinels. They are absolutely cooking in scrims over the last couple of days. Is it true that FNS, formerly of NRG, is the man that's leading the way for this team? And if they're doing as well as it looks like they are, will they lock him in as soon as they possibly can if he is going to be their new IGL? But so many other rumours as well. Cloud9, NRG, loads of teams making moves. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always. We're going to dive into all of it today. Loads of new subs over the last few days as well. Really appreciate that. Firstly, there's a couple of teasers of the new map, this sunset cinematic teaser. This is basically all we're getting from it, but it's going to be confirmed, I believe, on Saturday is the current discussion here that was had last night. It'll be revealed during the pre-show for Champions Finals on Saturday. So maybe the pros, some of them might have played it yet. We'll see, but it's going to be coming in because we know that Fracture's gone and what's the other one? Pearl is going to be gone as well. They're bringing Breeze back after the changes, and then Sunset's coming in, and many people are saying, well, you know, it's not great, is it, because some of the maps that are gone actually have more strategic depth, but whatever. Some teams are going to like it, some teams aren't going to like it. That's always how it goes. Let's talk roster rumors then, because people have been joking around, baiting around, obviously, all the time. You guys know how it goes. We saw yesterday there was a number of flags getting put out, which kind of implied that potentially an American player might be going to join Liquid next year. Redgar has another idea and says that, you know, from whatever he knows, it could be anything, right? I mean, you've got to take this stuff with a grain of salt, but I always kind of find it relatively entertaining, right? You expect the unexpected stuff, the players tweeting out the flags. I kind of like it, but actually figuring out what it means, and even if this does mean something, things could change so quickly, as they will continue to, that it's effectively irrelevant. And obviously Zekken comes out with his latest analysis. Zekken 10's Martico Steel. Now, this is not going to be the team. I think we can be pretty sure of that for Sentinels, but is the team going to involve some of these players? Last night, as you could well expect, the Scrimbucks were out in force, even to such the extent that Sentinels tweeted this out themselves. So Sentinels, we've got Sentinels Zekken, of course, this is Kaplan as well. Now, I don't imagine Kaplan is playing here. If Kaplan is actually subbing in for these guys and is like IGLing as their kind of like coach to IGL situation, and they're frying as they are, fair play, but I don't think that's the case, and I think there's another man that's probably IGLing this team right now that we'll get into. Tens is here, but of course on the other side of the station, we've got Jing, we've got Forsaken, we've got Something playing on Paper X, and they're getting fried 14-5. Now, of course, the results of these scrims don't really matter if you're Paper X. They know they're really good. They know they're, frankly, as it stands, the favourites for this tournament. We'll look at what DFA Montero here says in a few minutes, but he has, based on his analysis, Paper X being the favourites to win as it stands. So they know they're really good, and when you practice for these guys, it's not about winning the scrims, it's not about beating this Sentinels team in the practice, it's much more about learning what you want to learn. Certain maps, practicing some ideas, maybe some lineups, maybe some certain executes you want to practice, doesn't matter what the score is. Whereas for Sentinels, if there is a new man in there who is trying to get good results, it is about winning, right? Because if you come into a team getting trialed effectively for that roster and your scrims go really well in terms of results, then the coaching staff, the team is going to feel good, they're going to be happy about that, and they're going to be much more likely to make it happen again. If a team is getting cooked in practice, even if they're playing fundamentally fine Valorant and they're just there to learn things and all this stuff, if the results are bad, it just leaves a bad taste in everybody's mouths, right? So that's what we'll see here potentially with NRG. So yeah, Sentinels with their new roster were beating Paper X in scrims last night. As I say, doesn't really matter for Paper X, they're not going to be losing any sleep over this, but for Sentinels, it's a pretty good deal. And even we get in the replies here, well, Vinisaur says, who's the fifth? And, you know, Shroud, who told you? So we don't know, technically, but we can come up with a relatively good analysis. So here's our boy James Veverget, and after I screenshotted this, I noticed the little PS at the bottom. So shout out our guy who's doing all the work right now in Rostermania to keep up with what is happening. Now, it's not just that result against Paper X. That 15, apparently it was 15-7 in the end, at least at the final time that it was noticed, right? And apparently that was like one of the first times ever, at least since they've come to the state for champions, they've actually lost to Scrim, and quite emphatically to Sentinels. Now, this Sentinels team also beat, it seems, NRG 14-1. Now, this NRG team, we'll have a look at it here. So this is the only screenshot we have of that from James himself. He's added again, of course. So, you know, we've got Victor, who's seemingly now back on NRG after we thought there was maybe some trial going down with Cloud9. This is the thing. Things are crazy right now, and they'll continue to be so. Sentinels, Kaplan, 10s on one side. I'm guessing Kaplan's just here to coach, right? Because we see MCE in there, let's say, for Cloud9. But Ye is also on this team with Victor. And we can be pretty confident that Ye isn't going back to Cloud9. So this seems like this is a trial with Ye for Ardis in the NRG team. But this would be a trial, we think, potentially without FNS involved. Because the current rumour is that Sentinel's been playing without Marved. So, and if there's no Marved, there's no IGL. Unless Sassy is going to be IGLing, which he didn't want to do in the first place. That's why Marv did it. I don't think that Sentinel's plan for the new year will be like, all right, we gave it a good go with Marv. You IGL'd quite well, but it just fell short in the end. Sassy, now it's your turn. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to bring in a proper IGL, and it seems like Marv is no longer going to be on Sentinels. I'm not sure that's necessarily a good thing, but if the results are good, he could go to the bench or something, he could go elsewhere. But if they get a proper IGL in with 4 great aimers in Sassy, Pancada, Zekken, and Tens, like, I think they could be really good. I mean, they tried that with Def, and it just didn't work. And maybe FNS can get the best out of them. So that's the current theory, that Sentinels are running it with FNS. Because he was spotted in there the other day while they were teaming with the Mystery Fifth. We haven't seen him lately in there. Like, we don't have a screenshot confirming that. But do you think that they would be 14-1ing NRG with no Ardis and Ye instead? And of course FNS, if he is IGLing Sentinels, he knows NRG's tendencies, so, you know, you might expect a result like this, but there's some clues, right, that might be what they're trialing. And as I say, if they are trialing this, and Sentinels are frying everybody, as they are, then, well, it's quite likely they might lock it in. Now, there's some other juicy things here as well. Apparently they played Fnatic and were 10-10, they 9-6 to Cloud9, and I think they went up 5-0 on EG. They actually 11-3 EG. I think that might have ended 11-7 or... But the theory seems to be that either Sentinels have been drawing in their practice against Fnatic, or they've been beating everybody else they play, including EG. So, man, this is quite tasty for Sentinels if this is true. Now, the other things we've got to mention here, as well as NRG getting fried with Ye, which isn't really boding very well for them to stick to that move, is Cloud9. Apparently, there was no Leaf there yesterday, and there was Oxy instead. It was actually noted right here that we see MCE on the same team with Jake and Oxy. Oxy, of course, on that G2 roster last season, and a very exciting player and team at that. So, you know, I think, honestly, he could be a really good fit for this Cloud9 roster. Now, in place of Leaf is surprising for sure, but it's definitely one to look at. And the other one is Oxygen with Dapper, potentially, right? Which is, I think, quite a nice potential look as well. Formerly of Sentinels, of course. Dapper looking for options. So, you know, those are a couple of nice pieces to note there as well. Cloud9, Oxy, Oxygen, Dapper. Early days, things could change. You guys know how it is. I don't need to say it again. Now, the other theory about this mystery 5th player was John QT, which was discussed the other day. So, you know, people have done the research on this and tried to figure out. So this user here, AditYarp3, looked through and tried to do some digging on this. And he believes that he's discovered that NRG for sure practiced without FNS, just as Sentinels were practicing with FNS, or with a mystery 5th, shall we say. So it makes it quite likely that it could well be FNS. Now, John QT apparently was also in a game at the same time, and there were some other discussions, but I did see this, that the James FF himself had basically said that his understanding is that John QT is not going to be in there, which makes sense anyway, let's be honest. But, you know, just to say that all the point to say that FNS right now with Sentinels is a reasonable possibility. What would NRG do in that circumstance? I don't know. Where does Marv go in that circumstance? There's some big questions right now, but if Sentinels are frying in scrims as it seems like they are, then I don't think they will be inclined to change the present formula. Now, let's talk about champions before we close out the video here, because only 4 teams remain. The 4 teams that you, let's be honest, might well have expected to be in this position going into the final stretch of the weekend. I will also say all of the viewership numbers for the top series are all favouring Loud. This probably makes sense, let's be honest. It's a Los Angeles-based event. It's difficult for European and especially fans in Asia Pacific to actually watch their teams play. So it's maybe not a massive surprise that Loud are dominating the numbers here, but wherever you host the event, it's always going to be difficult. I guess Europe is probably the best for everyone, at least it can be, but you know, they don't seem to always want to do that, which of course makes sense as well. So these are some of the numbers here going into the final stretch of the playoffs. Super rare to see Fnatic have a negative win percentage in playoffs. Okay, it's not negative, it's 46%. It's lower than 50 is what I'm trying to say. They've won out of 17 79 rounds on their attack. They've only won 36 of them, which is the lowest out of all the 4 teams. EG, so far in the playoffs, have been crushing things. 70% attack round win percentage. Now, the highest on the defense is Fnatic at 58, but it's all very close here, so it's quite tasty for sure going forwards. And this is what DFA Montero believes will be the case. He did this before the playoffs began in the predictions. He had Fnatic making the finals in many different analyses of the situation. This is what it currently looks like. Of course, we know the results for 4 of these teams, and it comes down to this. Now, Fnatic are still, according to the analysis, the ELO rating, however this is analysed, favoured heavily to beat Loud. So Loud are finishing 4th here, 69-ish% of the time based on this analysis. So I don't know whether, but that's not necessarily true because Fnatic and Loud beat them the last time. So I'm not necessarily sure the ELO numbers really mean so much when it comes to a series like that, when there was a series played just the other day when a rather different result to the prediction happened. Does that mean Fnatic aren't the favourites? No, I think Fnatic are the favourites to still make it through. But even given that theoretical advantage, it's so difficult to make the run from where Fnatic are, to win that series, to win the next series, and then to win the grand finals, especially, when you factor in the vetoes and stuff in the grand finals will go to the advantage of the team coming from winners. Fnatic have, according to this, an 18% chance to win this tournament. Their chances before the tournament, according to DFA Montero's analysis, were pretty much like 60% plus, I think, chance to win the entire thing. Now it's 18%. According to this analysis, it's obviously not going to be perfect, but it gives a good measure of how difficult it is. Their most likely finishing position for Fnatic is 2nd as it stands, apparently. Paper X then are the most likely to win. Grand Finals chance, 72%, because they will be favourites technically against Evil Geniuses. I'm not so sure that I think that that's going to be the case. It depends on the map set. We'll discuss it before that series begins. I think this is a real, coin flip series, to be honest, between Paper X and Evil Geniuses. But the ELO rating seems to suggest that Paper X are now the favourites. Loud with a 2.5% chance to win this analysis. So, don't know if you guys think this is correct or not, but it's definitely interesting to look at and see that, Fnatic, despite being massive pre-tournament favourites and still having apparently an over 50% chance to make the grand finals, it's far from guaranteed they're going to win it. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.